In a university campus, a young man was writing in his notebook in his classroom. His name was Chinjila. He was the best student in high school. There was no problem in the world that he couldn't solve. But at this moment, he found himself in a troublesome situation. He had developed a crush on a troublesome girl who sucked on a lollipop during class. She told Jila to leave the homework for her because she had a dungeon to clear with her guild, and the teacher scolded her for sitting on the desk. But Jila simply agreed and picked up the girl's book. Xiaomei asked what he wanted because he was staring at her, and Jila called her while the teacher kept scolding her. Sheila wanted to know if he could join the gaming session as well. The girl left the classroom because of the teacher, but she told him he could join because they needed a healer, and her ID was Sweet Explosive Heart, and he should log in at 8. Sheila walked home in the rain, repeating the girl's ID while announcing that there would be a storm at 8. When the boy arrived home, he greeted his mother, telling her he had arrived. Jili's mother remarked that he was home early, and he explained that school let out earlier because of the weather. His mother noted the heavy rain and told him to rest since dinner would soon be ready. Sheila asked if there was any package for him, and his mother confirmed, saying she had left it in the hallway. Turning around, Sheila looked toward the hallway. He saw a box labeled Cosmos in front of him. His mother asked if he was finally starting to play games, noting she had always told him to relax a bit. She reminded him to come down for dinner, but her son had already gone upstairs. She then deduced he was in a hurry and probably wanted to play with someone, likely a girl. The rain poured heavily outside, accompanied by thunder. Sheila opened the gaming console box. He remarked that it was Cosmos, the most immersive online virtual reality game. The headset allowed access to the nervous system, providing a realistic gaming experience. Sheila reflected that it was ironic to start gaming now and thought Xiaomei must already be very strong. But he reassured himself, saying it wouldn't be hard for him, and then he received a new message. Xiaomei told him to hurry and log in because she had been waiting a long time. Sheila plugged the Cosmos console into the power outlet. Then he placed the headset on his head like a normal helmet. He reflected that this would be his first official date. He connected to the Cosmos gaming world. Sheila stepped into the water of the gaming interface. He entered a system that resembled a login screen. Bubbles began to rise, forming the name Cosmos in the air. The brightness covered his face. A message appeared, thanking him for purchasing Cosmos and welcoming him. Sheila thought it was really cool. An interface appeared before him, explaining that Cosmos was a survival game based on internet myths and legends. It was a world filled with treasures, miracles, and dangers, and he needed to choose his class to start playing. The system asked Sheila to choose a class, and he hesitated, remembering Xiaomei mentioned healers, so he decided he could be one. He clicked the button for healer and confirmed it as his choice. Cosmos informed him that as this was his first console purchase, he could select a free outfit, and Sheila thought he should dress more formally for his first date. A suit appeared, replacing his casual clothes. It completed the transformation in his hands. The system announced that the selection was complete. Sheila looked ahead at the system, which was loading to enter the game. In the city, news reported that the storm had reached a red alert level. A lightning bolt struck Shili's house, hitting the console's power source directly. Energy surged toward the Cosmos device, rising to Shili's head. Sheila grew excited, saying it would be his first date with Xiaomei. But he was electrocuted by the lightning that struck the device immediately after. Sheila wondered what was happening. Everything in his room began to levitate, including himself, floating off his bed. A light engulfed the entire room, illuminating it. But that same light fragmented immediately after. The rain stopped, and the city returned to normal. Shili's headset fell to the ground, empty, with no one in sight. His mother opened the door to his room and asked if he could check why the power had gone out. But she notices he is no longer there and asks where her son went. Screams are heard amidst orcs. A girl is seen fallen, panting heavily. She screams for someone to save her. The orcs notice a light immediately after. Electricity coming from deep within the forest. Sheila appears in front of her. Xiaomei notices this and calls out to him. Sheila holds Xiaomei and says he's late but she shouldn't worry. But Xiaomei simply holds his hand and says he's her hero. Then they kiss. However, it was just a dream of Sheila, who tells Xiaomei to slow down. He's in a desert with a lizard licking him while he hallucinates about Xiaomei. But he snaps out of it, thinking of a repellent. He wakes up calling Xiaomei as he gets up. The lizard begins licking an insect as it moves away from Sheila. Sheila wonders what happened and if the teleportation process was that extreme. It felt as if his body had been electrocuted, but he was comfortable. Then, he gets up from the ground. He looks ahead, saying that, seeing this, he had finally entered the game. Sheila keeps walking through that place, complaining about how hot it was and how realistic the game seemed. The first teleportation should have been to the starting village, but he didn't see anyone around and tried to contact Xiaomei. The system begins searching for the ID, Sweet Explosive Heart, while Sheila observes the sky, which was sunny. but the system informs him there was no player with that name, and he should check again. Sheila says it must be a mistake because he wouldn't remember Xiaomei's name incorrectly. But he starts walking, saying he should head to the starting village and find her directly. Sheila keeps walking for a long time. His face was tired and panting as he used his jacket to shield himself from the sun. Meanwhile, the Cosmos map displays his current location. Sheila wonders if he made a mistake, or if there wasn't a starting village in that area. He asks himself what kind of hell he was in. The system begins contacting the game customizer at 20%, then increasing to 60%. Sweat drips from Jili's face, falling even from his hands. But the system says he's in an area they cannot reach. The boy panics, saying he can't connect to the customization system and that something must be wrong. Because in this kind of weather, he would lose 900 milliliters of sweat per hour. Thus, dehydration was only a matter of time. Therefore, he didn't want to play this game anymore. He says he didn't expect the game to be so difficult but thinks he should exit now and explain it later. However, the game says he cannot leave that area. Sheila is startled by this, trying to press the exit button again and asking if they were joking with him. But every attempt results in the same outcome, being unable to leave the game. The boy asks what it means to be unable to leave the game, and wonders if he's trapped in that game forever. But the system says he has a mission, surprising the boy. His mission is to survive, with an infinite duration and no rewards or penalties. Sheila kneels and screams that he only wanted to play with Xiaomei but is now trapped there. He hits the ground, cursing the game, saying that no matter how much he tries, he can't leave the game or contact anyone, wondering if he will be trapped there forever. 8 hours later, he still couldn't believe he was trapped there. Time passed, and he accepted the fact that he couldn't leave and discovered this game imitates reality. The heat and dehydration were entirely real, and if it continued, he would meet the heavens. However, he wanted to survive, so he needed to find a source of potable water. He picks up a rock from the ground, saying that in a survival show, it was mentioned about limestone, which is often found near springs. His eyes start to shine after realizing this. That area had tons of limestone, so there must be water nearby. The boy sets out to find it, heading toward the water. But a wolf was sniffing its way toward him, thirsty for its new prey. Sheila holds onto a rock, praying his judgment isn't wrong. Then, he hears the sound of a drop falling, coming from a water source inside a cave. Sheila maintains a thirsty expression as he looks at the water. He wets his dry lips, and dives toward the water, reaching his hand as far as he can, plunging his face into the water source, drinking it immediately. Sheila reflects that it was refreshing and how good it felt to be alive. But a wolf was approaching the cave, looking hungrily inside, searching for its prey. Sheila lies down beside the water source. He says the water problem is solved, but he still cannot leave the area. Then, he sits on the cave floor. He mentions that, being a game, there should be a notification on how to exit the desert, but he only sees the system displaying a map and showing his current location. The system informs him that the map function only shows explored areas, and Sheila acknowledges it wouldn't be easy. Still, he decides to check his stats first, finding all his attributes at level 1, including his healing skill. Sheila remarks that his stats are low and he has no offensive abilities, so if he encounters monsters, he would only be able to run. He wonders if he could acquire new abilities. Then, he decides to check his equipment, opening a starter pack. He clicks the open button, and the equipment appears out of nowhere. Sheila is surprised that the healer starter pack includes a sword. For safety, he decides to equip everything, putting on the gloves and sheathing the sword. Sheila quickly moves to the side, swinging his sword and slicing the air. He works on his footing, shifting his stance, swinging the sword downward. Then, he assumes a combat stance facing the cave entrance. Sheila takes a deep breath. He pivots on his foot, cutting a rock inside the cave next to him. The boy says the impact and sharpness of the sword feel real. However, a durability notification pops up, reminding him it's all just a game. Shili's stomach growls loudly. He reflects that he has no information, but he must find food, otherwise, hunger might lead him to the afterlife. A growl from the depths of the cave catches Shili's attention. He wonders what that sound was. Turning around, he looks for its source. He approaches the back of the cave and realizes it's much larger than he initially thought. Sheila reflects that he was so relieved to find water that he forgot to explore this place further. A bone rolls across the floor. Sheila jumps at the sight of the bone, keeping his eyes on it. He sees hundreds of skeletons before him. The boy wonders if they are animal bones. He picks up a bone from the ground. Holding it, he notices numerous bite marks on it. He reflects that this kind of bite mark was described in school textbooks. But he panics, exclaiming that it can't be. He runs, shouting that he needs to get out of there. At that moment, the wolf charges at him, trying to bite Shili's head. The boy is terrified, facing the prospect of death. However, he dodges the wolf, ducking and rolling to the side. He steadies himself, standing face to face with the wolf. Observing that it's a desert wolf with high stamina, capable of traveling 10 kilometers per hour and, in extreme heat, up to 15 kilometers. It's known for reaching speeds of 65 kilometers per hour when chasing prey. Its attack is a bite with a force of 200 kilograms, with a weakness under its belly, and it is 3 levels higher than him. Sheila grips his arm, stating that this place is full of monsters. Because when the wolf attacked, its speed was far superior to his. There's no way to escape by running. So, he unsheathes his sword, drawing the sword to face the wolf. He says that if he loses, he'll meet the afterlife. When Jilo was a high school freshman, he was the captain of the Typhoon Kendo Club, swinging his sword, moving the wooden blade up and down while counting 1 and 2. That dojo was filled with trophies. Jilo was the youngest 6th Dan practitioner in City Z, but he learned kendo at a young age, because his mother was a huge fan. She was crazy about a star from City J, Musi Yunya. She signed him up for kendo lessons, forcing him to learn. For Jilo, however, his reasons for doing kendo were much simpler. He just wanted to wear cool outfits. He started participating but realized it wasn't as easy as he had imagined. Because when his opponent stood in front of him, everything went silent, and he could even hear his own heartbeat. An unfamiliar fear began to emerge within him, making his movements erratic and slow. The source of that fear was simply his own weakness, leading to his defeat. The only way to grow stronger was to keep practicing. No matter the weather, time, or day, he continued training, using all his free time to practice, repeating the same actions. But he was defeated. He managed to get injured but never stopped practicing or swinging his sword. As a result, he received an award, because eventually, he became the youngest 6th Dan practitioner and never stopped training. In this world, the strong survive, and the weak are devoured. The wolf charges at Shilo, who reflects that one can never know how strong or terrifying the next opponent will be. He prepares his sword for a strike, noticing that, at that moment, it was his perfect chance. He slashes at the wolf, shouting for it not to look down on him. However, the sword bounces back after hitting the wolf's skin. Shili's hand trembles, and he wonders what just happened. Meanwhile, the wolf looks back, enraged. It strikes Shili's abdomen with its tail, injuring him further. Then, it hurls Shilu against the cave wall. Shilu collapses to the ground, panting heavily. He wonders what's happening and why his attacks aren't dealing any damage. His attacks were ineffective and couldn't pierce the wolf's defense, though its weakness was under its belly. Shilu questions whether his strikes truly have no effect. The desert wolf charges at him. He dodges the bite and acknowledges the weak point, but the wolf is too fast for him, targeting all his vital points. Eventually, he ends up against the cave wall, planting his foot. Shilu reflects that he can't inflict any damage and is merely defending against the attacks. If this continues, he will soon be killed. He wonders if this is truly his fate, to die in this completely unknown place. The system alerts him that his health is low and instructs him to restore it. Shilu reflects that since the wolf's weak point is its belly, he might have a chance. The wolf charges at him again. Shilu readies himself, saying he has only one chance to defeat this monster, standing face to face with it. Blood drips onto the ground. The wolf managed to bite Shilu. It injured him, but Shilu stabs the wolf with his sword. He tells it to try ignoring his attack this time. Then, he throws the wolf aside, declaring his victory. He let the wolf bite him to expose its weak point. A risky move, but luckily it worked. The system notifies Shilu that he has defeated the desert wolf, gaining 5 levels and 25 points. Instantly, an aura surrounds him. He reflects that leveling up healed his injuries. The system then announces that a mysterious item shop has been unlocked. Shilu looks back in response. He reflects on being trapped in this game world, earning experience points after defeating the desert wolf, leveling up, and gaining points. He wonders what this mysterious system shop could be. Deciding to check it out first, he enters the shop. An aura begins to appear before him, displaying various types of rare and extremely powerful items, from swords to armor. Shilu wonders if this is the shop. He notices that the shop uses levels to unlock options, and his level decreases when unlocking things. Shilu observes that, beyond equipment, they sell household items and electrical appliances, questioning why anyone would buy appliances in a game. He also notices that the mercenary system requires 100 levels to unlock. A circle forms on the ground after he presses a button on the system. A girl emerges from it. She points a knife at Shilu. He wonders if this is some sort of video presentation. More circles begin to form on the ground. Offensive martial artists step out of them. Defensive types also emerge, along with magic-based mages, and nearby assassin-type thieves. Shilu is amazed by the sheer variety of types. He asks them to wait. He then notices a service-type fairy. Looking at it, he feels embarrassed. He wonders who designed this and if they were suggesting he die a virgin here. The system states that, at Jili's current level, he can only activate the daily essentials. Shilu remarks he has no choice and instructs the system to unlock it. The system announces that he has unlocked 5 sweetheart breads and 3 happy nerd waters. At his current level, these are the only items he can exchange for, but he needs to eat and recover energy to survive. He then asks the system to display his stats, noting that his condition seems fine but thinking that increasing his attributes would make him stronger. But no change occurred when adding points. However, those attributes determined his destiny there. He analyzed what each stat did and reflected that there was a 5-level difference between him and the desert wolf, making its strength and speed superior. With this in mind, Sheila allocated 5 points to physical stats, 10 to strength and agility. He then distributed the points into each attribute. He could feel his body changing and his strength improving noticeably. Happy, he remarked how incredible it was to become stronger. But Sheila looked back, seeing several wolves and realizing the whole pack had arrived. He readied his sword, saying it was time to test the effects. And he charged forward, wanting to see if he could defeat all the wolves in the cave. The wolves rushed toward him, but their mouths met Jili's sword, and one was split in half. Sheila leveled up, noting that he no longer needed to attack weak points to deal damage. Another wolf lunged at him, trying to bite him, but Sheila slashed it again. He remarked that with his increased stats, his swordsmanship had improved, and all that was left was to take care of the wolves. He leaped off the ground in an instant, preparing his sword to strike the wolves while it gleamed. Sheila advanced, slicing through all the wolves. They were simply struck down and sent to the afterlife in a single blow. The boy leveled up with each wolf he defeated. In the end, he had gained 15 levels, 24,000 experience points, and 75 attribute points, sitting breathless atop the fallen wolves. Sheila commented that, as expected, leveling up was easy if he defeated many monsters. Night fell in the cave. Sheila stood at its entrance, reflecting that now that he had food and water, he should explore the surroundings further. He noticed fur on the ground at the cave's entrance. Surprised by what he saw, several desert wolves lay defeated on the ground. Their skeletons were visible to Sheila. He wondered what all these defeated wolves were, until he heard the sound of one being pierced. Sheila readied his sword and looked up. He saw a figure standing atop a cliff, having pierced the wolf's abdomen. The figure observed the boy from above. Sheila wondered who this person was, but the figure didn't respond. Sheila reflected that something was off. Someone had been standing there just moments ago, and with all these bodies around, he couldn't imagine anything else. He wondered if there was another player trapped in the game like him. He pointed his sword at the wolf's defeated body. He noted that it had been completely drained of fluids. He dragged the wolf's body away from the cliff. Sheila reflected that this player must be extremely cruel. But he was startled by what happened next. A danger warning appeared from the system. He noticed something advancing toward him. Sheila turned his head to see the approach. He slashed at it, piercing the ground and drawing a small drop of blood. A larva stood in front of him. His sword lost 25% durability, and the larva fell to the ground. Sheila realized that whatever had defeated the wolves was not human. He saw a foot approaching him, from which a non-human figure emerged, its hand severed. This was a high-level monster. The monster's hand began vibrating in front of Sheila. He reflected that it was on the same level as the wolves he had fought earlier. If not for his increased agility stat, he would have died from the monster's earlier attack. The monster regrew a hand to replace its severed one. Sheila wondered how it regenerated its own arm. It was called the Wandering Dominator, with an unknown level. In the Lakanaya Desert, it was known for its speed, a predator of predators that consumed the blood of other monsters. No one had ever escaped its hunt. Sheila had prepared himself to face different types of monsters, but the killing intent of this one overwhelmed him. It made him feel like an insignificant ant, helplessly waiting to be sent to the afterlife. Sheila had never felt such fear in his life. The Wandering Dominator advanced. It lunged at the boy with a strike from its hand. Sheila saw the attack coming and cursed. As the Dominator's hand attempted to strike him, it caused a cloud of dust to explode in the area. But Sheila dodged the strike, throwing himself to the side. Sheila reflected that it didn't matter if he was strong. He readied his sword for a downward strike, saying he wouldn't be intimidated by it. The attack was about to hit the Dominator, but it dodged the attack, making Ji Li's sword hit the ground. The boy looks back, wondering what had happened. He sees the Wanderer with a punch aimed at his head. It throws the boy far away. Sheila falls to the ground with his sword. He rolls to the side, unable to do anything. He plants his sword into the ground, determined not to let this happen again. He stands up with his weapon in hand. Panting, the boy doesn't know what to do. He says this is what the system calls absolute speed, while his face remains bruised. Sheila rises after taking the creature's hit. The creature begins speaking in its own language. It moves in the blink of an eye, advancing toward the boy, aiming a punch at his abdomen. Sheila spits blood as the blow lands. He collapses to the ground immediately after, spitting more blood. He remarks that the creature could have sent him to the afterlife just now, and wonders why it didn't. The creature moves its mouth, then kicks Sheila, sending him flying again. The boy struggles to stand, trembling. the creature approaches Sheila and hands him his weapon. Sheila wonders why it did that and what it was planning. The wanderer opens its hand, spreading its fingers, and points to its neck. Sheila questions whether the creature is asking him to try sending it to the afterlife. He wonders why this feels like a cat playing with a mouse before killing it. Realizing the wanderer is merely toying with him, an explosion occurs in the distance near the battle. Li's weapon durability drops by 80%, and he falls to the ground, cursing the wanderer. He says its speed is overwhelming, and his attacks can't cause any damage, but the wanderer grabs him by his shirt. Sheila calls it a bastard, being choked by the wanderer, unable to retaliate. The wanderer starts speaking about humans. Sheila wonders if it can talk, but the wanderer says humans are weak, like pests. However, Sheila cuts its hand off. He distances himself from the creature after the attack, calling it the only weak one here and cursing it again. But the wanderer simply observes its severed hand. It says this is interesting, as it has been centuries since it encountered a human who excited it so much. Sheila replies that he feels the same. It's been a long time since he felt this energized. His family and friends were waiting for him, and he had a long life ahead. An aura surrounds him as he declares he won't die in a place like this. He shouts that he will definitely return home. A bright light radiates throughout the area, even forcing the wanderer to shield its eyes as it encircles Sheila. Sheila becomes enveloped, electricity flickering in his eyes. He advances in just 1 second. His hair begins to float in the air. His extraordinary fighting spirit had awakened a divine blessing. All his attributes increased by 100, enhancing his strength, agility, attack power, and stamina. Sheila prepares his sword, now surrounded by black lightning. The wanderer remarks that this looks more entertaining and invites the human to approach. It is startled when it sees the protagonist advancing without warning, and is struck by Li's sword blow to its chest. Blood spills from the wanderer, who had seemed invincible to Sheila. Sheila observes it with a murderous glare. He delivers multiple slashes to the creature's chest, fury written all over his face. A notification states that the weapon's durability has reached 0, and Li's sword is destroyed. But he tosses it aside immediately, then delivers an uppercut to the wanderer's chin, sending it flying a great distance with ease. Sheila declares he will use it to gain more experience and grow stronger. He approaches the wanderer, as smoke clears from his field of vision, revealing that the wanderer had disappeared from the area. But the same wanderer reappears behind the boy, striking him with insect-like blows. The wanderer calls him an ignorant human, saying he is nothing but a mere pest, an insect. Sheila wonders if, even after all this, he still can't defeat it. The wanderer begins to levitate, lifting off the ground. It generates an electric attack in its hand, while a gigantic reaper-like figure appears behind it, surrounded by aura and energy. The wanderer bids farewell to Sheila, and it moves its hand forward to strike the boy. Sheila sees everything happening through his bloodied eye, until he is struck by the attack, and slashed multiple times without even having a chance to fight back. Sheila freezes, lamenting in his thoughts, wondering if he is about to die. As the system announces that the player Sheila has reached 0 health and passed away, Sheila suddenly wakes up, rising from a bed in a wooden house. Panting heavily, the boy begins to breathe deeply. He wonders if he's still alive, wanting to know if he had left the game, but he looks out the window and tells himself to wait, wondering where he is. Sheila manages to open the system even in that place. He remarks that it's still there, and it seems he's still trapped in the game. However, he recalls being killed by the monster, and wonders why he's lying there, unharmed. He examines his body for injuries but finds none and questions what's going on. The door opens, and a female foot steps into the room. A red-haired girl appears, holding a blade. She tells Sheila he's finally awake. Both fall silent as she catches him lifting his shirt. Sheila waves at her, explaining that he had just woken up. The girl shouts for her grandfather, Wu Bulei, announcing that the boy has awakened, before rushing out of the room. Sheila wonders what's happening and whether he's in the starter village. But an old man with scarred arms enters, plucking a leaf from the ground. He gathers the leaves as he walks forward, shouting about what the boy just said. The girl asks Sheila if he had died. Sheila confirms, explaining that his body was completely pierced and wonders how he ended up there. The girl reveals that her grandfather, Wu Bulei, found him while out hunting. She explains that Sheila was on the brink of death but had a sliver of life left. Wu Bulei declares that this is not a starter village in a game, and they are not NPCs or anything like what Sheila mentioned. Sheila reflects that it makes no sense because this is definitely the game world, and something isn't right here. He has a sudden realization and tells himself to wait. Pointing forward, he asks them to look at the system, but both grandfather and granddaughter simply stare at him. Sheila explains that this is the game's status menu, mission list, and equipment screen, and he can even view the map. The girl asks her grandfather if the monster hit Ji Li's head too hard, causing him to go crazy, and the old man agrees. Sheila reflects that he still can't access the game's menu or find Xiao Mei after searching, leaving him disconnected from the outside world. Frustrated, he wonders how he can leave this place, shouting that he just wants to go home. But Wu Bulei tells him he cannot leave, because anyone who enters the Latanea desert is cursed to remain there forever. He explains that the desert is vast, and while one might think they could find a way out, there is no exit. The girl recounts how years ago, she and her grandfather traveled to the Argama continent to slay a dragon but encountered a storm. When they woke up, they were here. Her grandfather said this was the legendary Latanea desert, capable of trapping even gods. The only way to gain freedom is to locate the palace of the god Kebli, as this desert is a dungeon with no exit. Many people have sought a way out of Kebli's palace, but most never returned alive. Afterward, people accepted their fates and stopped searching, choosing to live here rather than risk death. Sheila stares ahead with determination. But Wu Bulei places a hand on his shoulder and tells him that every year, new people arrive here, yet no one has found a way out. He advises the boy to accept his reality, saying it would be better for him, and that his granddaughter Sally would take him to explore the city after he rests a bit. Sheila reflects that he is inside the game, and this feels like a manga or an isekai of this genre. But a system notification announces that he has received a new mission. The mission states, "Avenge the departure of the god Kebli," and asks him to accept it. The task requires him to gain the protection of the god Kebli and remove his seal. The condition is to locate the palace of the god Kebli in the Latanea desert and defeat the monster Nabis to free him. And the reward was the key to unlocking the seal of the Latanea desert. In an open grassy field, Sheila reflects that he doesn't know how he ended up there, but now he finally found a way to leave. He needs to locate the palace of the god Kebli and defeat the monster Nabis. After that, he'll finally be able to leave this place. Sally calls out Sheila's name. Sheila stands up and looks at the girl standing near a tree. Sally asks what he's doing there, and says she's been looking for him everywhere. Sheila apologizes and explains he just wanted to be alone, so he decided to take a walk. Then, he looks ahead, pointing and asking if that's the Latanea desert. The girl nods, saying it's part of it. However, she explains that their city is now surrounded by the Latanea desert, which stretches endlessly in all directions. Sheila looks around him. He wonders how he's supposed to find the palace of the god Kebli, and Sally asks if he's really going to try. Sheila reflects that yes, he has to leave this place, no matter what. Sally says there is no palace. It's just a rumor, and he'll die if he doesn't quit. But Sheila starts walking, ignoring her. He says he's already died once, so he must find the god's palace to return home. He tells Sally to come back to the city with him. Sally walks alongside Sheila calmly, asking if he's really going to search for the palace. Sheila simply nods. The girl continues, saying the desert is full of strong monsters, and even her grandfather couldn't defeat them all. Sheila tells her he's strong enough, so she shouldn't worry. But something strikes both of them, with multiple slashes raining down from above. Sheila sees everything through his eyes. They are hit by an explosion, destroying the ground beneath them. Several people approach them. A group of well-dressed individuals. The leader of the group says the prey has taken the bait. Sheila shields his face with his elbow and asks what's going on. He observes the people standing there, noticing that Sally has been hit and is sitting on the ground. The leader of the men says she used a flame cage to block their blades, and greets Sally again. Sally asks why Boban is there again. Sheila questions what's happening and why they're attacking him. Sally explains that there's something scarier than the monsters, bandits. Because they don't hunt in the desert, they rob other people instead. They're a group of horrible individuals who hunt humans to survive, and Boban laughs, holding two dark blades, one in each hand. Sheila questions what kind of ability that is. Boban says that last time she managed to escape, but this time, they wouldn't fall for the same trick. Sally releases flames from her body in an instant. She tells Sheila to go back and call her grandfather for help because she'll hold them off. Wu Bulei stands in front of his house. Suddenly, a lightning bolt strikes from the sky. The old man continues walking around. He wonders if another storm is coming. He heads back to his house while carrying plants, but he notes that Sally should have already returned from the city by now. Meanwhile, Boban says he wouldn't let them reach the old man. He points out that Sally knows her spells are ineffective and suggests she surrender to him obediently. If she does, he might consider letting Sheila go. Sally shouts that there's no chance. Boban says she'll be to blame for whatever happens next. Sally yells at Sheila to stop hesitating and escape immediately. However, Sheila says no. Sally questions his decision. Sheila says he's not someone who abandons his friends, even though they've only known each other for a short time. So, there's no way he'll run while she's risking herself here. Boban grabs Sheila by the face with his hand, and slams him against the wall to hurt him. Sally approaches, screaming for Sheila. But Boban says he's just a piece of trash and questions why he's acting all heroic, saying things like that. He says Sheila shouldn't use words but his own strength. However, Sheila grabs Boban's arm. He asks if Boban thinks he's strong as he pushes him away. Then, he questions if Boban thought he could ambush them. delivering a punch to Bo-ban. Bo-ban barely dodges it and retreats, his arm now injured. Bo-ban curses, saying Gila dislocated his wrist so easily. Gila reflects that Bo-ban was fast, even though Gila had added several points to agility, and yet Bo-ban could easily dodge his attack. Sally asks if Gila is okay, and he confirms. The girl asks what Bo-ban actually wants. Bo-ban shouts, saying he's told her many times he wants Sally to be his girlfriend. Sally says she has already told him that it's impossible. Gila asks if he did all of this just to make her his girlfriend, and the girl nods. Bo-ban asks if Gila is Sally's boyfriend and if he's being rejected because of him. Sally questions what he's talking about and says they're just friends. However, Bo-ban doesn't believe her and tells her to stop making excuses. He shouts at Gila to fight him like a man and stop hiding behind a girl like a coward. He declares that if Gila wins, he'll stop tormenting Sally. A mission pops up for Gila, instructing him to defeat the shadow assassin, Bo-ban. The reward for the mission is the Latinea ancient map. Sheila wonders about this side quest and realizes the map's reward could help him leave this place. The boy shouts that he accepts the duel. Bo-ban readies his blades and says that's what he wanted to hear. His subordinates ask if Bo-ban is serious, some of them sounding envious. Meanwhile, Sally asks if Sheila is sure about this since there's no way he can defeat Bo-ban, who is strong and known as the Shadow Assassin. Sheila asks about the Shadow Assassin and whether he's truly strong. Sally confirms, explaining that Bo-ban uses the power of shadows, giving him not only speed advantages. His shadow-infused equipment has powerful attacks and great strength, which could easily kill Sheila. However, Sheila steps closer, asking if that's all, since he has already died once. He charges forward, saying at this point, he'll do whatever it takes to leave this place, heading straight into battle with Bo-ban. Sheila tries to land a strike on Bo-ban, wondering why he can't have a peaceful life like before. He tells himself he just needs to defeat Bo-ban to get the map and leave, but Bo-ban dodges using shadows. Sheila turns his failed strike into a kick aimed at the side of Bo-ban's head, but Bo-ban simply leans back, dodging the kick while laughing. He then prepares his daggers for the next attack. The two face off while Sally watches. Bo-ban taunts Sally, asking if this weakling is the one she likes. Sheila wonders why Bo-ban isn't attacking and if his plan is only to defend. Sally urges Sheila to leave and find her grandfather, Wu Bulei, as only he can stop Bo-ban. However, Sheila says he won't leave Sally behind, surprising her. Sheila says this is a fight he must have, and if he wins, they can leave this place. Sally asks what he means about leaving this place, and what defeating Bo-ban has to do with getting out. Sheila reflects that since entering the game, nothing has made sense. He can't log out, has died and revived, and now must defeat Bo-ban. Everything from the start seemed to be leading to this specific event. Bo-ban calls Sheilai's attention, throwing his weapons to the ground to pin them there. He tells Sheila to stop daydreaming in the middle of a fight, asking if he's scared, because it's too late for that now. Sheila asks why he would be scared of a coward who doesn't even dare to attack. Bo-ban says he doesn't want to attack someone weak who is unarmed. Since this is a fight between two men, it should be fair, he says, picking up a sword from the ground. He tosses the sword toward Sheila. The sword spins in the air until it reaches its target. Sheila simply catches it in his hand without hesitation. Bo-ban says he doesn't want Sally or his subordinates thinking he's bullying someone. Bo-ban's subordinates remark that he's finally getting serious. Meanwhile, Sally stays silent, watching the confrontation. Sheila says he didn't expect Bo-ban to fight fairly, considering the previous sneak attacks. Bo-ban replies that those weren't sneak attacks but instinctive reactions, and Sheila just agrees. Preparing himself, Sheila says they'll have a fair fight from now on. He reflects that he must defeat Bo-ban to get the map at all costs. Bo-ban thinks to himself that now he'll show Sheila the true strength of a shadow assassin. Thus, Sheila gets ready, making a move against Bo-ban using his sword. Bo-ban, on the other hand, simply smiles, and leaps into the air, merging with shadows. Sheila is surprised by this move from his opponent, and Bo-ban prepares an attack with his sword bathed in shadows. However, Sheila manages to block the strike using his other sword, given to him by Bo-ban. Sheila is pressured by the attack and focuses entirely on defending, but Sally calls him and warns of an attack from behind, while a clone of Bo-ban prepares to attack him as well. Sheila turns and defends against the clone's strike, countering it while Bo-ban prepares his blow. Bo-ban's clone attacks him from above with the shadow sword, but vanishes as the real Bo-ban is above Sheila, ready to strike him stealthily. Sheila curses him mentally as he notices the attack, and Sally tries to call his attention back to the fight. However, his shoulder is slashed by Bo-ban with the shadow sword. His life decreases by 300, leaving only 700, and if it drops below 300, the mission will automatically fail. Bo-ban retreats and tells Sheila to just give up, because he couldn't defeat him. Sheila, however, stands up, saying he couldn't give up, as the system asks if he wants to heal the wound using his abilities. The young man looks at the screen, amazed. Then he says yes. Thus, his life is restored, regaining 100 points and stopping the bleeding. Boban's subordinates comment that he's a healer and question whether a healer had really tried to fight a shadow assassin. Boban tells him to leave Sally and flee because a healer couldn't fight him. Sheila asks if he's afraid of being defeated by a healer and humiliated in front of Sally. Boban gets angry and questions what he just said. Thus, Sheila prepares his sword and tells him to shut up and come at him. Boban prepares his shadows and warns that he will now show his true power as a shadow assassin, creating several shadow clones to attack Sheila. Sheila wonders if that bastard had split into 3, because it's seen shadow assassins divided into clones for combat. And when he attacked before, the clone went first, but Boban's main attack came from behind, meaning the main body and the clone could switch positions. He says that's a troublesome profession to deal with. Boban says that Trash awakened as a healer, and it disgusts him, because if he wanted to know his true power before kicking the bucket, he would show his invincible shadow attack. Sheila prepares his sword and says he's ready for it. Thus, he charges toward them. Boban calls him an arrogant kid, and sends one of the clones to play with him. The clone moves very quickly. Sheila positions his sword, preparing to move. Thus, he defends the clone's attack with ease. The swords repel each other afterward, and the clone attacks Sheila again. Sheila, panting, separates from the clone. Thus, he dodges its attacks and always counters, but they're blocked. Sheila reflects that it's very strong because he's blocking attacks from just one clone. But there are still 2 more, and one disappears next to Boban. This one is moving behind Sheila. The clone says he was lucky to dodge last time, but he won't be so lucky now. Thus, it attacks Sheila from behind, hitting his shoulder. The sword falls to the ground. Sally is shocked by this, and Boban's subordinates as well. Boban's clone asks how that's possible, as he dodged his blow and managed to land a strike. And Boban asks what happened. Sheila backs away, panting, reflecting that it was close, as he nearly kicked the bucket just now. The system congratulates him for increasing his agility and obtaining the skill Explosive Slash, a hidden skin unlocked when encountering an assassin's strike, obtainable through the agility attribute. This allows him to dodge all physical attacks for 2 seconds, and his next attack inflicts 150% damage. With a cooldown of 5 minutes, Sheila reflects that if he hadn't gained this in time, his head would have been cut off. Thus, he takes a fencing stance and says he just needs to defeat the clones now. Boban laughs as the clone retreats, and says it's interesting because he managed to dodge again and hurt his clone. Thus, he says the real game has started and commands them to return. Li's sword returns to Boban, who reflects that he showed mercy to a cruel enemy and underestimated him. Boban says he won't play around anymore, and Li should open his eyes and watch closely. Thus, the clones join their swords together, making something emerge. Sheila observes carefully the strike they are preparing, and sees the clones and Boban creating 6 new weapons. Then, he breaks his limiter, and uses the barrage strike, hitting the ground and releasing multiple shadows, which surround and catch Sheila off guard, and attempt to strike his left eye. But Sheila dodges the blow by moving backward, thus evading all the attacks aimed at him. Yet one of the attacks hits his arm, gradually cutting his biceps as he continues trying to dodge. Boban laughs, saying he could dance as much as he wanted. The system alerts that Li's life is below 30% and urges him to heal immediately as he keeps dodging without reacting. But he sees Boban in front of him, preparing an attack, which surprises him. A shadow rises from the ground alongside Boban's attack, but Sheila evades it. Boban says that the Reaper is there for his life, and starts targeting Sheila repeatedly with his strikes. The cuts continue as Boban leaves the attack area, and he says he will find a good place to be Li's grave, but a lightning bolt charges toward him, surprising Boban with its sudden appearance. Wu Bule moves into the scene, as lightning begins to encircle the city, resembling an approaching storm. Sally finds herself paralyzed with fear, alongside Boban's subordinates. Even Boban is startled by what's happening, while Li's eyes are surrounded by electricity. Wu Bule had blocked Li's strike with his hand, then saying that was more than enough, and looking gently at the boy. The rain continues to fall in the immense forest. Sheila is panting, blood still marking his clothes. But he ceases his strike after being blocked by Wu Bule. Wu Bule says that's enough now. Sally approaches the two and asks if Sheila is okay. Sheila holds his own wrist and says he's fine. But Wu Bule starts walking, telling the two to return because the storm is on its way. Boban, however, begins laughing at the three, saying it's all just a joke that happened, and asking if Wu Bule thinks he can just grab them and leave. Wu Bule stops walking as the rain pours, and tells Boban that if he hadn't blocked Li's strike, he wouldn't even be standing right now. Bo-ban wonders if he's lying while recalling the sensation, telling the old man to stop talking nonsense because Jilo is just a rookie awakened and couldn't possibly have the ability to defeat him, and if he hadn't interfered. Bo-ban screams, saying he would have sent Jilo to the afterlife. But Jili's mission is completed, earning him 15,000 experience points, the map, and a hidden key. Jilo asks if the system judged that as his victory, but Wu Bule covers Sally, and says they need to leave before the storm arrives. Bo-ban's subordinates tell him they should leave as well because staying trapped in the storm would be their end. Bo-ban shouts for Jilo to come back because their fight isn't over yet, and yells for him to return and fight, while his subordinates hold him back. Jilo looks back, impressed by Bo-ban. Wu Bule tells him to go, as the storm will arrive in a second, and Jilo says he's going. At home, Sally tells Jilo to stop moving, saying he needs to stay still and hold on, because she can't properly use medicine if he keeps moving like that. Jilo apologizes for causing trouble like this, but Sally says she didn't expect him to be so strong. He reflects that he earned some EXP but didn't level up, so he should treat his injuries normally. Asking Sally if Wu Bule had known Bo-ban before this, Sally says she and Bo-ban grew up together as kids and were like siblings. Then, she tells Jilo that she's finished treating his wounds. Jilo thanks Sally as he sits down. Sally says she's the one who should be thankful, thanking Jilo for that, and leaving the room, saying she needs to help Wu Bule, so Jilo needs to stay and rest. Jilo tells her to be careful. The rain continues to fall as Sally walks toward Wu Bule. Jilo looks out the window, remarking that the rain is coming down heavily. He wonders what his mother might be doing, assuming she must have panicked when she couldn't find him. Then he says he should return soon because now he has the map of Latinea after completing the mission. He plans to use it to find the Palace of God, defeat the boss, and leave the palace. So, he decides he'll leave as soon as the rain stops. But the system notifies him that he has earned a hidden key and needs to confirm it. Jilo asks what the purpose of a secret key is. He uses it, entering the system. The system explains that during battles, there can be various treasures based on color rarities, and this key can be used to open a chest automatically. He picks up the key and remarks that after this battle, he received a random treasure, which is interesting. He then grabs the cloak on the bed. Putting it on, he says he'll leave this place soon. However, Wu Bule arrives in the room. Jilo greets him as Grandpa Wu Bule and says he's back. Wu Bule says he couldn't come earlier due to the rain and had to protect the crops. Jilo assures him it's fine, and Wu Bule asks about his injuries. The young man tells him not to worry, as they are just small cuts and bruises that will heal in a few days. Wu Bule says that's good to hear since he didn't expect Jilo to defeat Bo-ban, the strongest assassin in the village. Jilo says he was underestimated but admits he might not have won. Wu Bule explains that he knew about Bo-ban's abilities and that combat isn't just about strength. Willpower and spirit play a crucial role. He adds that Jili's victory wasn't merely fate or coincidence. Jilo asks Wu Bule how Bo-ban turned out this way if he and Sally grew up together. Wu Bule exhales smoke from his pipe and says it's a long story. Sally and Wu Bule went to Latinea 10 years ago, on a night when it rained heavily, much like today. They passed by a house and discovered a terrible demonic monster attacking someone. It was too late, as the monster had already defeated the adults inside the house. But a child had survived, trying to wake his already fallen mother. The monster moved to attack the boy again, and struck at him, while he cried, mourning the loss of his mother, until a lightning bolt struck the area, blasting the demon monster away before it could react. It was Wu Bule protecting the boy. The defeated monster clutched its arm, and turned to look at Wu Bule, then fled into the forest. The boy mourned his mother's death in a corner of the room. Wu Bule recalls that this boy was Bo-ban. Since he lost his parents, Wu Bule adopted him and took care of him. Jilo asks why he acts this way in front of him now. Wu Bule explains that after Bo-ban took on the mission to find the monster and avenge his parents, he tried to convince him to give up and live a normal life. Because in Latinea, there are many monsters of formidable forms, and even at full strength, Wu Bule wasn't sure he could defeat the monster that killed Bo-ban's parents. But Bo-ban rejected his master's advice and left to grow stronger, and Jilo reflects that even Grandpa might not be able to defeat that monster. Wu Bule suggests they stop the discussion and tells Jilo to rest. While Jilo reflects that with the map, he will now find the Palace of God. However, the desert contains many strong monsters, and he wonders what would happen if he encounters another dangerous monster. With his current strength, he'd kick the bucket before even reaching the palace. He recalls having fought a terrifying monster before, which could have easily defeated him, so he knows he needs to grow stronger. Jilo calls out to Wu Bule before he leaves, asking him to train him because he wants to become stronger, find the Palace of God, and leave this place. Wu Bule stops and drops his hat, telling Jilo to just get some good rest. Jilo insists he's serious because he has a way to leave this place, but Wu Bule simply leaves, and Gila reflects that the relationship between Wu Bulei and Bo Ban ended up like this for the same reason. He resolves not to act impulsively. However, Gila is surprised when Wu Bulei stops in front of him and says that after the rain stops, he should meet him on the hill, because if he passes the test, the old man will train him. Gila shouts that he will definitely pass that test. Wu Bulei reflects that, somehow, Gila might be the only hope of leaving this place because, in the previous fight, he demonstrated an interesting skill that bypassed his defense. And if he becomes strong enough, he could be capable of freeing everyone from this cursed place. A mission then appears, surprising Gila. The mission is a daily task requiring him to run 10 kilometers with weights, do 3,000 push-ups, and 2,000 sit-ups. Gila reflects that it seems extreme, but attribute points are important, so he shouldn't give up. Thus, he accepts the daily mission. On the hill, at dawn, labored breathing can be heard. Gila is carrying a log on his back while walking, reflecting that the system is kind enough to even provide the weights he needs. He has completed the run and is now doing push-ups, having also completed 984 sit-ups. He reflects that it has been a long time since he felt like this, working hard for a reward, and this kind of challenge excites him. The mission is then completed, and Gila earns 4 attribute points. He wonders where to allocate the 4 points, but decides that, since his main skill is healing and his defense is weak, he should add 2 points to wisdom and 2 to stamina. However, Gila is called by Sally, who approaches him, running. Gila asks what she's doing there, and Sally says she prepared breakfast for him because he wasn't home, and her grandfather told her where he was. She asks if he's training there and hands him a food package. Gila confirms, saying that Wu Bulei agreed to train him. Sally questions whether Wu Bulei really accepted to train him, and Gila simply nods. She says that's incredible, and she's curious to know what attribute he will awaken. Gila asks what an attribute is, as he's a healer and wonders if he can awaken other attributes. Sally explains that yes, a healer is the profession given by God, but he can still awaken an element based on his personal abilities. For example, she can use fire, Wu Bulei can use lightning, and Bo Ben uses shadows. Everyone has an attribute, and the profession is just a guide for future development. Gila reflects that he's excited to discover which attribute he will awaken. This world is divided into 5 areas, and he is currently in the central lands of Latinea, a place rich in resources and trade where people from all over the world gather. To the west lies the volcanic land of Megara, home of the racing dragon. To the north is the winter land of Kasansado, filled with giants and berserker monsters and abundant crystal resources. To the east is the Vergama forest, inhabited by mystical elves and other types of mystical monsters. To the south is the land of Chubatik, home to dwarves renowned for their forging and known as the World's End. According to rumors, that place is connected to the divine world of the Endless Ocean, and if one passes through it, they'll reach God's residence and gain infinite power. Since arriving in this place, the Endless Ocean and God's Palace have always been rumors, but given everything he's seen, they might actually be true. Gila accepts this and says he needs to leave this desert because it's not just a rumor. Sally nods in agreement with what Gila said. Wu Bulei greets them, saying he didn't expect them to arrive so early, and Sally gets up to greet her grandfather. Her grandfather asks if she already confessed to him so quickly, and Sally questions what he's talking about. But Wu Bulei simply observes Gila, and asks if he's ready for his test. Gila agrees and says he's finally ready. Wu Bulei explains that since the beginning, the gods created different races, attributes, and professions, but elements are common among them. Because, in this world, there are things outside that one can see and touch, like elements, which are untouchable. And to grasp an element, one must feel and awaken it. Thus, Wu Bulei brings his hands together, creating various symbols around him. He tells Gila to feel the presence within himself, and sense everything flowing through his body. Wu Bulei draws lightning emanating from his body by simply placing his hand on the ground. Wu Bulei says the magic circle will teleport him to monsters somewhere in the desert, and he had gone to that area while hunting. Drawing a sword from his back, Wu Bulei says it is Ozil, which has accompanied him for many years. He explains that, in 3 days, the teleport gate will open, and Gila must use the sword to defeat the Beast King and bring back its head to pass the test. However, he must awaken his elemental power to unleash the full potential of the sword. Only then will he be able to defeat the Beast King. Once he enters the dungeon, there will be no way to bring him back, so this is the moment for him to quit if he chooses. Gila smirks. He grips the sword and says he won't give up, because he will return with the Beast King's head. The dungeon mission activates, tasking him with bringing the Beast King's head, and Gila must accept it. Gila confirms his participation in the mission. The system notifies him that the mission is in progress, lasting 72 hours. He is then transported through a teleportation portal. Wu Bulei reflects that the monsters have strong defenses and only elemental powers can defeat the Beast King, so Gila must quickly discover the path to awakening. Gila finally arrives at the location as lightning descends. He finds himself in a rocky area, and wonders if this is the dungeon. The area is black in color, and the sky has no light at all. He notices a foul stench lingering in the air as well. But that doesn't matter because his mission is to find monsters. At his current level, defeating the boss would be difficult, so he needs to defeat smaller monsters first to level up. A black light appears in the sky behind Gila, and he says he's going to do this. Suddenly, a green attack attempts to strike his head, but Gila dodges it. He wonders if he's already been discovered. Looking closer, he sees what it is. A monster opens its wings and stands before him, revealing itself to be a Dotem, level 20, one of the most mysterious monsters in Latinea. Gila reflects that he hasn't awakened his elemental power but can still use the sword because its power depends on how he wields it. He draws the sword, stating that he wants to see how strong he truly is. With every battle, his combat experience grows, so he charges at the beast, reflecting that by now, he's no longer a weak beginner. The Dotem releases some form of energy to block Gila, but Gila reflects that it doesn't matter which monster he's fighting. He no longer feels fear or hesitation because his fighting spirit drives him forward. He just needs to defeat monsters to gain experience and grow stronger. Thus, he slashes the Dotem's tentacles, dodging the remaining tentacles that attempt to pierce him from above. Gila plants his foot firmly on the ground and charges at the Dotem with full speed. The Dotem also prepares its strike. Gila continues, reflecting that he feels himself growing stronger with every fight, and leveling up after defeating monsters is exhilarating. He drives his sword into the Dotem, pushing it deeper and twisting it to enlarge the wound, finally slicing the monster into 2 parts. Its pieces fall to the ground beside Gila. As he levels up to 17, earning 5 points, he reflects that this keeps him focused and motivated. However, other Dotems appear before him. Boban releases energy, screaming that it's not enough, tearing chunks from a nearby rock, slicing through multiple pieces as part of his training, then screaming during his practice, shattering the rock into hundreds of fragments. He reflects that it's impossible and wonders how he lost, because a healer without elemental power unleashed fear with a single attack and made him tremble. He recalls that he had never seen Wu Bule use his ability that way and could barely block the strike. Boban climbs onto a rock, calling Gila a bastard, and asking what kind of being he is. Gila leaps from the ground, slicing through a Dotem and leveling up, then defeating another and leveling again. Thus, he defeats multiple Dotems consecutively using the sword Ozeal. The system notifies Gila that he has leveled up, and informs him he has reached level 25, with 45 unallocated points and access to the medical shop. It asks if he wants to spend 15 levels to unlock the medical shop, and Gila questions this. He reflects on how much effort it took to reach this point, and now needing 15 levels to unlock the medical shop seems like a headache. However, the higher his level, the harder it will be to progress, and in the future, unlocking or buying items will become significantly more expensive. Thus, he opens the shop, revealing various sections. The one requiring 300 levels catches his attention. He comments that he should prioritize unlocking the better shops first, as that would be the right choice, but his current situation doesn't allow it. So, he activates the medical shop, receiving potions. The recovery potions consume levels to heal him and enhance his attacks. Gila reflects that, as expected, his health increases with levels, and in the future, his health could reach 10,000, allowing him to recover 8,000 in just 10 seconds. He realizes he would be invincible with healing potions and proceeds to unlock the shop using 15 levels, then buys the Berserker Warrior potion, using 8 levels and leaving him with only 2. He reflects that now he effectively has 2 lives, which makes him feel more secure. But his stomach growls loudly. He realizes he used a lot of energy defeating the monsters and now has only 2 levels left, wondering if he could buy some essentials. He notices some bread that reduces hunger and decides to purchase it. Gila eats the bread, complaining that it's hard and that Sally's bread is much better. He then realizes 12 hours have already passed, leaving him with 60 hours to complete the mission. Remembering his grandfather mentioned the beasts were located in the northwest, he decides to follow the map to find them. The system notifies Gila that he has 45 unallocated status points. Gila realizes he forgot to distribute them, and wonders how best to allocate them. Reflecting that, while his strength and agility have improved significantly, his mana and defense are still weak, he decides to focus on those areas. He notices that when his health is low, his attacks begin to miss, leaving him vulnerable to enemy strikes, as if it were a test where he only gets one chance to succeed. However, with infinite attributes and the ability to level up continuously, he knows he needs different strategies to achieve perfect battles. He allocates 15 points to physicality, 15 to strength, and splits the remaining 15 among defense, agility, and magic, deciding to rely on the potion he purchased if necessary. Then, he begins walking, reflecting that he now needs to find the beast's cave. and complete his mission. Meanwhile, in Sally and Wu Bulei's village, Sally expresses concern, saying the beast cave is dangerous and wondering if Sheila will really be okay. Wu Bulei, however, is tending to a plot of land. He tells Sally not to worry because he marked the sword, and if Sheila gets close to defeat, he'll bring him back. Sally questions why he sent Sheila to the beast cave and why she didn't know about it earlier. Wu Bulei plants his hoe in the ground and explains that he accidentally stumbled upon the cave while hunting, but he cuts the conversation short, saying he needs to head into town and reminding her to feed the roosters. Sally notices something seems off. Wu Bulei walks alone toward the town, reflecting that he can't stop Sheila now, no matter how hard he tries, and that's why he sent him to the beast's cave, to show him the reality of the world. He admits that he doesn't know how, but he believes it's impossible for Sheila to pass the test, yet he still holds on to hope that he'll bring back the Beast King's head. If Sheila actually does it, he'll believe he's the savior destined to lead them out of this cursed place. Sheila continues walking for 3 hours. He notes that the beast den should be nearby, but hears someone screaming for help, begging to be saved. He turns to see a mother and a child running. Sheila wonders why a mother and child are in such a place and how they got there. As he moves toward them, he tells the woman not to be afraid and asks her to explain what happened, but she keeps pleading for help. Shaking and talking about the monster, a rusted chain is heard from a distance, and a heavy breath exhales far away, revealing 3 monsters approaching while the mother trembles in fear. The monsters of Latinea have extreme destructive power and high health, making them like giant moving tanks. In front of Sheila stands a beast man named Rakadler, of low intelligence, who tames beasts and can summon them on a large scale. Sheila reflects that this opponent is of a higher level than the monsters he's faced before and also more intelligent, telling the mother to stay behind him, thinking that, since a beast appeared here, the base can't be far away. However, the woman and child seem strange, so he wonders if they could have been transported there. Observing their trembling, Sheila begins to release his energy. Rakadler orders Sheila to offer his head obediently and taste the bitterness of defeat. He commands his beasts to go and tear apart these insects. However, one of his beasts is struck in the head by Sheila, who spins his sword with speed and mastery, and retaliates against the monster with consecutive strikes, thus inflicting cuts and causing it to bleed heavily. He then kicks it to the ground, forcing it to fall. It hits the ground hard, creating a large cloud of dust. The monster is left severely injured, sprawled on the ground, and Sheila kicks another one, making it roll backward. While the mother and child watch in awe of his strength, Sheila finally lands on the ground after his fight, and reflects that he has become much stronger since leveling up. Meanwhile, Rakadler watches his beast being defeated, ordering the other to attack Sheila and defeat him immediately. But the beast observes its fallen companion, and hesitates for a moment, feeling intimidated, then flees from its master, who orders it to return. Rakadler tells it to run away, calling it useless trash, declaring he will defeat Sheila with his own hands. But he suddenly notices the sword stopping at his throat. Sheila commands him to drop his equipment and not move, otherwise he will cut off his head. He starts walking closer to him, asking why he was chasing the mother and child. Rakadler calls Sheila a mere human and says he is a servant of God, warning that if Sheila kills him, he will be cursed by God. But Sheila disregards this and slashes his face, injuring his left eye. Sheila tells him it will be worse next time, demanding to know where the beast's base is located. Rakadler points toward a mountain, saying it is beyond there. Sheila reflects that Rakadler doesn't seem to be lying, as the location matches the system's description of a mountain of black rocks. However, amidst the chaos, the beastman seizes an opportunity, charging toward the mother and child, declaring to Sheila that if he wants to protect these 2 insects, he should watch as he defeats them and drinks their blood, claiming that this is his true strength. With no time to waste, Sheila moves swiftly, kicking Rakadler in the head, while another figure, radiating a yellow aura, reacts simultaneously. Rakadler is confused about who he should defend against, and realizes this may be his end, as he is struck by both kicks, flying backward from the impact, and crashing to the ground after being hit by both blows. Sheila looks at the man, wondering who he is. The man comments that Sheila has very impressive moves. After some time, Sheila asks the man who they are and how they ended up there. The man explains that 3 days ago, he and his companions were brought to this place and, amidst the chaos, were captured. He followed them to find his group and eventually encountered Sheila, introducing himself as Jas, a warrior, and extending his hand. One of his companions is Filorga, an assassin, and Rachel, a healer. Sheila introduces himself as Chinjila but says they can simply call him Sheila. Jas asks if Sheila knows how they were brought to this place. Sheila replies that he doesn't, but that Rakadler might know something, while the beastman curses the humans for their ambush, reflecting that sooner or later, he will defeat them all, but notices the humans approaching and questions what they want. saying they are mere insects meant to be food and cannot disrespect God. Shila calls him by name, making the beast man question how he knows it. But Shila continues, saying he has many questions for him, and if he doesn't want to die, he should answer honestly. Rakadler begs, claiming he has told the truth and they should believe him. However, Shila tells him he already knew everything he said. Rakadler explains that he is a low-ranking member of the tribe and knows little, but that God has captured them as food, and he is simply following orders. Shila notices thunder roaring in the distance, and all the adventurers are astonished by it. In the city of Delk, someone questions whether Wu Bulei has gone mad. They remark that it's been many years and wonder if he truly believes the rumors. Even if they find the palace, they won't know what to do afterward. This man is Hicks, a wind mage, who states he cannot defeat the monsters and says it's unwise to trust in a boy without elemental mastery. Hicks warns Wu Bulei of the consequences of angering God, saying the entire village will be in danger, and that they should have simply sent the boy to his end in the beast's den. Thus, he would